Good, Barb.
Yes.
Roll call?
Mr. Doyle?
Here.
Mr. Deegan?
Here.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson? Here. Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor
Here.
Bruno?
Sorry.
Yes, here. Can I get a motion
Yes,
to
I
open the
am.
first public portion for ordinances and resolutions below?
I make a motion that we open up the first public portion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mary. Mary was the second on that.
I think I heard it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi,
Hello.
good evening.
Good evening. Renee Pistoia, Lady of Party, 2787 East Grand Avenue. R42-22, 47-22.
Yes.
Couple questions. Who wrote the contract? Who wrote the contract for this gentleman to take this position for the township administrator?
We did.
We did.
Okay, how come there's no hours in the contract on what hours they're gonna, everything else is in it, but there's no hours that he's working?
Wouldn't that go to the handbook or no?
We go to the handbook.
During the interview process, if I could just add, it was discussed what his hours would be. He agreed to that and said he'd probably work more. So I took it that there would be no shortage of hours, but he was pretty committed to the hours that we were asking him to work.
If you
5
have
days a week, 8 hours a day.
5 days a
Yes.
week, 8 hours a day.
Correct.
It's a full-time.
Yeah, it's a full-time
Yeah.
salaried
Full-time,
position. If
So-
it had been different, we would
so
spell
noted.
it out. yeah.
Matt,
Well, if you don't spell it out, there's no hours there, so he can work whatever he wants, whenever he wants, and that's not like it hasn't happened in the past. So, it's just, a contract is a contract, it's a binding agreement, and you need to change things to make sure that that is clarified.
It's a good point.
It's just, obviously, he'll be attending meetings.
Right behind you.
I know who he is.
Okay.
I have no problem with the
He will be
lawsuit,
attending meetings, that's correct.
so I know there was something else I wanted to ask you about him. First, welcome.
Thank you.
Um,
Not yet, we didn't approve him yet.
I'm glad to see that, we seem to always find the ones that have some kind of baggage to go with them, but I'm glad to see that you're actually giving them a chance. I don't know the gentleman. I only got to read what everybody else I'm sure he has read, so, thank you.
Thank you.
3 weeks vacation. Who does 3 weeks vacation?
He does.
Hello, Cynthia
Atlantic
Parker,
City.
124
Hello.
Roosevelt Avenue. I just had a question about the ordinance for deputy chief position. Is the township approved to move forward with the police accreditation process at all?
The last time we talked about that, that was going to be a tremendous amount of money. Because in talking to the chief, the police cells don't qualify right now in their state versus the new
Well,
standards.
there's caveats to that. I
Yeah.
mean, obviously, there's old police buildings out there,
I
but...
think it's the where we need to be, it's just the process of the money
Yeah.
and the time.
Yeah, I think we all.
We're
agree
trying to
that
get
it's
these guys
something we
cars
need
that
to-
run now. I mean, just being honest, so.
Have we taken over any new municipalities lately?
No.
Did we find any new money anywhere?
That'd be nice.
No.
Why are we making a deputy chief's position? I asked that because back when we took
We're making
over...
a deputy's chief position because the deputy's chief position was in the contract before. It was removed from the contract. So upgrading the rules and regulations, we saw that. We noticed that it was changed. So we're changing it back the way it originally was. Doesn't necessarily mean we're filling it. There's a lot of positions we might not be filling.
I understand that
Okay.
part, but my issue is, back when we took over Buna and Newfield, we had, at the time, the administrator and the chief came with no proposal, no feasibility study, no benchmark study, and asked for $20,000 raises for, the added burden of the work that they would be doing. Right now, we don't have any additional, to my knowledge, burden of work that we'll be doing. Like I said, if there was an accreditation process, completely understandable, because there's so much work that has to go to get that set up. We're taking over more municipalities, completely understandable. And same thing, if you find new money, great. especially, we just got rid of a useless position 2 months ago. And, I'm not saying the deputy chief position is useless at this point, but for right now, I just don't see why we need to have that financially, when we're not in the financial position we were back when we could have used additional administrative oversight.
Let me ask you a question. If we don't fill it, how is it costing us any money?
But it ultimately will if you do.
Ultimately, if you fill it, it could potentially cost you money, correct. But we haven't committed to filling that position.
Okay. All right, very good. I guess the other thing, again, congratulations, hopefully.
Let him sign a paper.
Like I said, I said hopefully. Again, I don't personally know the man, I wish him the best of luck, but again, I'm speaking on behalf of a resident in the township. We've made mistakes with administrators in the past. I hope he does a very successful job. I hope this is great. But again, financially, we're not in a position to give people chances and make mistakes. So, like I said, I hope this works out. I wish him the best. Obviously, background in law enforcement, I believe he is going to be completely ethical and do the right thing. I just, again, there's not really much on how much experience he has with a history as being a township administrator. That's my concern as a resident. So again, if this fails, I hope it doesn't, but if it does, I just ask, just raise our taxes and get it over with. Because, like,
I don't think
this
it's
is-
a tax issue. We interviewed a lot of people, and Matt was the best person. And we left that out for too long, to be honest with you, because the worst thing we can have right now is not have an administrator.
No, I agree, but like I said, we know
There's not a lot of
there's
20-year experience.
There's been history of
beating
the
on our
township
door.
hiring people, and again, like I said, he's at least done some work for the past couple years with the city of Vineland. But we've hired people in the past that have had no experience as an administrator or, any type of administrative position, and look where that's gotten us. Lawsuits, things of that
Absolutely.
nature, and I truly hope that this works out for the best, but I just ask you give him all the tools that he needs to make sure that this is successful.
Our goal is to make him successful too, Cindy, so,
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
She remembered.
I'm sorry,
She
I'm
remembered.
back. The second in command is your deputy police chief. So you're putting that in the line of command, and I know you're saying you're not filling it. The captain is now the
I
third.
said we're not filling it at this time.
So there is somewheres down the road that potentially it's
Could
going to
potentially
get
be filled,
filled.
absolutely. Could be 5 years, could be 5 months, could be 5 weeks. Who knows?
All right, that's good, I'll leave it alone until it happens. Do we have any guarantee, again, I'm sorry, I'm not picking, have you heard, we've had a lot of issues.
He's not a used car, there's no guarantee with it.
Well, there should be, okay? He's got a pending lawsuit, and that pending lawsuit
Listen, we're not
also...
gonna talk about his personal
Okay,
lawsuit.
let me finish my question
You
to you.
can finish it, but I'm not gonna entertain it.
His personal lawsuit adds in to get his job back. So if his lawsuit ends in 6 months from now, 3 months from now, a year from now, is he walking away and we're going to have to get another administrator?
He
Have
could
we-
get hit by a car tonight. I mean, who knows?
Let's not be
We-
silly. Let's not be silly. This is realistic. You had an administrator who was here 2 weeks, gives you a company, then leaves, gives you a company to
He was
use.
here for more than 2 weeks.
He gave you a company to use,
They were the
which
best
you
couple
guys
months
were
we
not
had.
pleased with them. You ended up in bad terms. We didn't even get a report, and now we're back in the boat again. And rightfully so, he could go back to the other job. It could be a better paying job. But you're giving him 3 weeks vacation, so if the settlement goes and he says, I'm going back, he's walking out of here with admin time, sick time, vacation time already up front.
All right, Renee, understood.
No, it's not understood, because you
I
didn't answer. Is there a
understand.
guarantee that he's going to be here? Is it a contract for a year? Is he getting a severance if he walks out after?
Did you read his contract?
I looked at the contract, and hence to say, there's a lot of stuff that's not in it.
The position is governed by statute, and the terms and conditions, the duties, it's all governed by state statute and the removal process and the terms of removal. I understand there's been contracts in the past that went beyond that. This is not that. This is a standard agreement with the business administrator after a lengthy process that the governing body undertook to select the proper individual. And as far as the specific terms and conditions of the quote, financial package, there's all different elements of it, and you're simply citing one. It's an overall package that was negotiated in the best interest of the township. I understand that you're speaking of a history, and it's not an uninformed one. I get what you're speaking of, but again, this was an arm's length transaction with a large pool of potential candidates and an extensive search to find the best person to fit specifically within our township to do that. And that's all that this was, all that it was and everything that it was. I understand your concerns, but this is what, those other things aren't in here because we're not granting them. We're not, this is a standard employment contract with a person of this position.
Okay, good luck.
Anybody else?
A motion to close the first public portion.
I had a question. 0422 and 0522 that are on here tonight. We talked about it a little bit. I went through a lot of it today. I called Mr. Lyons on the phone. We rectified one of the issues, but I found a bunch of other things that we really need to discuss before this goes through. Is it possible to table that until we can have that discussion?
Matt, did you have, you have,
Chief and I spoke at 2 o'clock and addressed it. Chief and I met a couple weeks ago, prior to our last meeting, discussed his concerns, factored them in. Chief spoke to me today and addressed his concern. It had to do with last year. Remember, we took some action last year, hadn't made it into our published code, corrected that. I'm not quite clear what, the length or the topics that he's talking about now, but
I have them with me. I don't think we should talk about it in public.
He
but
accurately reflects what he and I did today, correct?
there
Yeah,
are
I
some-
can't address them unless he, without knowing.
There are some other things. One of them is with a 40A statute that has to do with the list of how seniority is dealt out. I don't know if it's, I don't want to get into it right now, but that's one of the issues, and there's a few other things that really need to be clarified with some of the processes so that we don't run into any snafus or nonsense anymore.
Just on that point, when we concluded today, prior to 3 o'clock, I advised the chief, any other issues to let me know and contact me, and I was available to make any other changes. But I can't address his concerns without knowing what they are.
Is it possible that we get together, like, whenever? I'd do it tonight, but I think they need to be addressed.
can you give us any general terms? Like, using the word seniority was one?
Well, that was one of them. I had a chance to go through it today. I was given one of the ordinances by Mayor Bruno the other day. I started going through that, and then that one had changed. Barb had sent me one, I think it was Friday. I started looking over that when I had a chance, and then I had found the one issue today that I wanted to let Matt know, but then when I started going through it again, I found a few more. But that one specifically is under testing process for promotion. 40A 14-129 specifically says things about due consideration to seniority.
Okay, you can just keep it general, don't, you know what I mean?
I'm
So-
trying to.
okay,
It's
so
it's
testing-
difficult to,
Seniority, and let's call it testing process.
I think the way that it's written now doesn't incorporate the entire pool that would be eligible for that. And without getting completely into it, if
Okay.
you want me to, I will.
Do you have that ordinance with you?
Yeah.
besides that, there's some wording questions. There's some wording that's a little vague as far as how things would be determined down the road. And that specifically would go towards different points that the officers would receive towards their final scores. Just for instance, you need a minimum score on the written. Why wouldn't there be one on the oral? That was just something I jotted down.
These are all issues that we discussed last year, and the committee took these actions. These changes are consistent. This tracks that same line of argument we had last year. There was extensive amount of time, if you remember. We went through each one of these elements to the point of matching up the percentages with the number of items within those so that there wouldn't be any confusion.
Yeah.
Matt, that was with, what was the gentleman's name who came in?
Yeah, him.
Mr. Gelfand.
Yeah.
Correct.
I still think there's a lot of confusion in here that we definitely would need to sit down and look at as a group.
And Matt, you thought it was pretty clear?
I'll give you another for instance. We talked about not making certain things compound, as in degrees and military service. That was in one of the proposals before, but that's not in this one. So do you count masters, bachelors, somebody E5 or above? And then here it says E5 equals 2 points, at or above. What about the people that are above an E5?
Right. I do
They're
remember
still get
going
this-
over
They still
that.
get the same points as somebody else.
But again, that's not subject to the change in this ordinance. I understand the chief's concern about it, but they were all issues that were voiced fully last year. And again.
Was I there?
It was here. It was here at a meeting.
I don't remember that.
I think it
There were
was.
several meetings.
I don't think I was there.
I think it was enclosed.
So I got bits and pieces of it, and now I have a final draft to go over.
Yeah, but again, we're not changing those topics tonight. That's not subject of a revision. So if you're saying that there's something else that you want considered, that's a separate conversation. And again, the chief has the largest role, obviously, in implementing these items. So great effort was placed last year to have it be as objective as possible, so there wasn't to guard against any type of subjectivity or concerns regarding that. So
No, I remember it. I just didn't look at the two side by side, thinking we would have to critique it as such.
But again, the items the chief brings to attention are not subject of tonight's action. If they're subject, or the chief believes they require additional further review, that's fine, but we're not changing them tonight in one direction or the other. So that's not really a reason not to proceed on this. If the chief feels additional overall review is required, I'm certain, Chief and I speak all the time. Chief and I spoke yesterday, Chief and I spoke last week, we spoke today. If there's additional review that he feels is warranted, that's fine. These topics, the primary portions of this ordinance, though, aren't touched by what he's raising tonight. Not discounting what he's raising, saying it's a different discussion.
It's the same ordinance, though, correct? I mean,
It is, Chief.
we're
I
approving
just-
everything tonight,
We
right?
are, but these are issues that have been on the books for over a year, and you're raising issue with them now. While timely, it's not directly on point with the action that's under review by Township Committee. Doesn't mean your input or your suggestions can't be the subject of further revision or further review, further amendment. That's fine if you feel that that's necessary.
Well, I think it's
But again,
necessary to keep us out.
We spoke 3 weeks ago in your office for over an hour, and you didn't discuss the fact that an ordinance that's been in place for over a year, you felt needed to be revised. And, that's...
Like I said, I'd like to discuss this in private. I don't think we need to air all this out right here. Because that meeting, I called you.
You did.
I called you.
You absolutely
because I
did.
had questions.
And
I wasn't invited to any of the meetings prior to
You called
that.
me and I walked right over into your office.
Correct.
You know,
You've been great with that, and that's why I figured, let me ask tonight if we can just go over these things, get it right. I'm not against this, like you and I have talked. I'm not against it, but I think there's a time, a place, and we have to do it correctly.
well, again, I don't discount.
That's all I have to
I
say.
don't discount your observations, Chief, and I would be ready, willing, and able to.
I'm just asking for that.
discuss it, but-
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Anyone wish to make a motion to table?
Wait a minute, sorry. I did have one other question, I
Okay.
apologize. With that ordinance, obviously, if it's not gonna be a position that's gonna be filled anytime in the near future, I don't see why there's an issue with tabling it, so this can all get aired out without us lay people being here. But my other question was, and I asked that you consider it, I don't know if the chief or Matt has had input on it, but part of the promotional process for the rank of deputy chief, prior to closing date of the test announcement, and the position of captain, lieutenant, and/or sergeant was added. Again,
That was added intentionally at the request of the chief.
is,
Not exactly,
is.
Well,
I-
it was added, Chief, in response to your concerns.
Okay.
That's why I said I'd like to
Again,
discuss
I'm
it
not-
further.
Ladies, gentlemen, I'm not here to argue that point. I'm just asking that there be discussion about that particular point, just again, with prior experience. Maybe if there's an addendum to that part, that if there wasn't the position of captain or lieutenant actively filled, then maybe you go to the position of sergeant, but jumping over 2 additional positions, going down to a sergeant's position and bypassing a captain and, two lieutenants' positions, to me, it just looks like,
Unfortunately, that's how that took place before.
well, and
know,
again,
so-
I'm asking, since it's highlighted and it was addressed in this evening, if it could just be part of that conversation. Again, personally, with law enforcement background, in a chief's position, can't see promoting somebody over captains, lieutenants from a sergeant's position unless those other positions were vacated and, probably in a situation you had when chief was promoted, years ago. So that's my only other ask, is that be considered as well as part of the conversation.
We did have lieutenants back then, though. You're aware of that? We did have lieutenants, and they were passed right over. Yeah.
But
so
you didn't have a captain's position, correct?
We didn't have a captain's.
Right, so that one position was vacated, so you'd go lieutenant and sergeant. Do you know what I mean? So like I said, if a captain or lieutenant's position was vacated, then you would look down at the sergeant.
Yeah.
You would have those 2 pools to choose from. But if you have a captain's and lieutenant's positions, why would you go down to, for lack of better words, your frontline supervisors, your 3rd tier? That's all I'm asking. So,
Yep,
thank you.
I understand.
There's no timers on ordinances.
This is an ordinance, it's public,
No timers.
this is public hearing.
Don't be so rude.
I'm not, I'm talking about something else. Do we need to, can I ask if anyone wants to table this now, or do we wait?
That's up to you.
You want to wait until it comes time, or do you want to do it now?
Now, if there's a motion to be made, I would wait until public portion is concluded,
Okay.
and we could do it right away after that.
Excuse me.
Get a motion to close the first public portion.
I make a motion, we close the first public portion.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Does anyone want to entertain a motion to table ordinance 0422 and 0522?
I'll make a motion to table 0422, 0522.
I'll second.
Okay.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
No,
Mr. Doyle?
No.
Mayor Bruno?
No. I get a motion to approve the correspondence and reports.
can I get a motion to approve the correspondence and reports?
Second?
All in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from January 25th, 2022?
I make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Recuse myself.
Good call. You could have read it. Taking a motion to approve the bill list.
Make a motion, we approve the bill list.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
I'm
Yes.
not
Mayor
on
Bruno.
this.
Yes. Taking a motion to approve 2022 licenses.
I make a motion, we approve the licenses.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Taking a motion to approve a raffle for Parish of the Holy Cross.
I make a motion, we approve the raffle.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I get a motion to approve Resolution R4622, authorizing the tax collector and chief financial officer to refund overpayment of taxes?
I make a motion that we approve R4622.
I'll second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno.
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve R4722, appointing Matthew Finley as township administrator and authorizing the mayor and/or his designee to sign the employment agreement with Matthew Finley?
I make a motion that we approve R4722.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno.
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve R4822, authorizing the chief financial officer of the township of Franklin to transfer certain funds from and to specific accounts in the 2021 budget, reserve budget of the township of Franklin?
I make a motion that we approve R4822.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno.
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve R4922, authorizing an emergency temporary budget resolution?
I make a motion we approve R4922.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno.
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve R5022, authorization to relinquish tax lien TSC 97-0-4 on 185 McCurdy Avenue in Franklin Township?
I make a motion we approve R5022.
Second? Sorry.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno.
Yes. Can I get a motion to introduce ordinance 0422 and 0422, adopting the Franklin Township Police Department rules and regulations? The public hearing will be on March 8th, 2022.
I make a motion that we approve O422.
Second?
Second.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Well, I'm going to have to
We have to say no.
abstain, right? Or do I abstain, or do I just?
Oh, it's
say
just for the
no?
public hearing.
Oh.
It's up to you.
Your previous vote doesn't limit you. You have your right to
Because of
vote.
tabling, so I guess I'll go with no, then. So I thought we might table.
Mrs.
Right.
Flame?
And my answer would be no as well, due to the fact that I would want to table it.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to introduce 0522, amending and replacing Chapter 98 entitled Police Department of the Code of the Township of Franklin?
I make a motion that, for the public hearing on O522.
Second.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
No.
Mrs. Flame?
Same answer as before, and that's a no?
Mayor Bruno.
Yes. No.
Don't be confused, it's okay.
I am.
Can I get a motion?
You're fine.
to
You're
Open the
fine.
second public portion for any comments.
Make a motion to open the second public portion.
It's understood.
Second. I-
All those in
second.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good evening, Mr. Bill.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and committee.
Bill.
Congratulations, sir. As Chair of the Communication Commission, I'd like to offer you, if you would like to do a 5-minute video to make yourself known to the township.
It was
from
just in the
township.
paper, Bill. He's fine.
Not everybody reads the Vineland Journal.
It's in the paper, it's the truth.
Renee, come on. But if you want to, we have a decent camera. Okay, thank you
Decent
very much.
camera. Not a half-bad camera guy either.
I try my best. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Is it possible to get some of our department heads so we can get some reports on what's going on in town? And obviously, I know they're filling potholes because I've seen them around. There's a lot of potholes, but they've been out there filling and filling and filling and, but the people, obviously you see the Facebook pages, and people are saying, hey, the potholes here, potholes there, but we haven't had representative and the engineers or the department heads, and we spend a lot of money on engineers, and I don't know what he's doing. So it would be nice if they could come and just let the residents know exactly where we're at and what they're doing with our taxpayers' money. Is it possible to have, we had them before. I mean, the tax
talked
guy.
about-
Yeah,
We
yeah.
talked about it the other last year. We'll see if we can get Larry out here once a
Well,
month.
it doesn't have to be just Larry. I mean, any representative from there. I mean, who?
No, it needs to be Larry.
Well, it could be Deanna. I mean, she does a lot of the work. It could be,
Needs to be Larry.
and then you have like,
Just like when Brian, if we asked him, he would be the guy to give his.
right, and then,
department.
you know, I don't know, does it cost us money to have the engineers come?
Yes.
Yeah.
Nah, forget it.
And like the pothole, like the issues now would be snow, potholes, leaves. The engineers have nothing to do with that because the potholes are all temp fixes this time of year, so.
We
Right.
actually have.
But if we have projects and there's questions on projects, it would make a lot of sense to have them here, but we don't usually have questions on like paving a road or a
I
retention
don't even know if we
basin.
paved any roads.
Oh, there's one we get paved this year.
Yeah, we did some
Doing
last year.
Pennsylvania Avenue.
We did Dutch Mill.
Pennsylvania Avenue later.
Yeah.
The Phase 2, when it gets to the
Yeah.
springtime, it'll be ready.
That and the balance of Dutch Mill, right?
Tuesday's leaves did start to get picked up.
When?
Tuesday's leaves, oh. We're just about out leaf season now.
No, it's coming back in.
They're gonna come back on soon.
For the
We're
spring
gonna
pickup.
pick them up and then come back a week later and pick them up again for the spring.
So you have a week to
I
get them
hope.
out there.
So if we can have our department heads, so we know what's going on.
We're gonna actually go further to get the blacktop now.
Yeah,
South State won't sell it to us.
that's a whole nother headache.
South State. Why don't you try to go in with the county?
The county doesn't have an asphalt plant.
No, they have, like before, the committee went with the town, the county, when they were doing blacktop roads, they jumped on their contracts to get a lower price.
Yeah, but we're talking about patching potholes. That's like a ton here, a ton there. There's a shortage, COVID. So they're not selling asphalt, most of these places, to anybody. Sounds crazy, but we called 20 places. So we're getting it. The problem is it's taking the guys longer because they have to drive further. So when you spend a half a day driving,
Hamilton.
you're doing
No, see?
half a day's less work.
They got us.
Okay.
Is that ice? The rocks? No? It's National Margarita Day.
Yeah, it is. Taco Tuesday, margarita.
Chili Day on Thursday.
Jason's a Taco Tuesday guy. Yeah, you're buying, right? Dollar tacos, you're buying.
they're $1.
That's all right. Maybe you don't have any dollars.
It should be $2 for $1 on 2/22.
It's true.
Tuesday.
2/22. 2 tacos. Maybe $2.
And the revisions can be made at once.
I don't have any.
Can I get a motion to close the second public portion?
I make a motion, we close second public portion.
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
I want to take a minute. Matt, if you want to introduce yourself to the people?
Did you,
The
did
people
you,
that
did
haven't
you
read
give
the
my
journal
yet?
yet?
He likes to put people on the
Don't tell
spot.
them when you're leaving out. They want to know when you're leaving.
Really? I didn't get
Don't
that.
let the guy.
Your hours.
I'll turn around this way since the committee knows me. My name is Matt Finley. Born and raised in Vineland. Went away to school, went to LaSalle University where I played baseball. Graduated from LaSalle, came back. Got hired by the Vineland Police Department. Climbed to the ranks of the Vineland Police Department. To the point of where I was captain there, second in command. Retired there in September of 2018. During the time I was in the Vineland Police Department, I went and got my master's in public administration from Seton Hall University. I also did some teaching for Seton Hall. I also gained my certified public manager certificate from Rutgers University. January of 2019, I went into the public sector. I started working for a company that does a lot of work with Wawa. I still work with them on a part-time basis as needed. I went back to the city of Island for a short period of time, left there and worked in healthcare since the whole COVID outbreak. And now I'm here with Franklin Township. I don't have any plans of going anywhere else, hopefully, so we'll see what happens. And I'll disagree with one comment that was made: don't believe everything you read in the paper.
That's sarcastic.
No, I know, I'm just kidding. Me too.
Thank you, Matt.
So,
Thank you.
I'm here, I'll be here Monday through Friday. My door will be open, and I'm kind of easy to see. I wear a suit every day, I have a bald head, I'll be easy to spot.
See how long that lasts. See how long the suit lasts.
I got a closet full of them.
Leave it on over there.
Not yet, he doesn't.
Hey, give him a week. 2 weeks.
She said he'll sit there Monday when it starts getting paid. Committee reports, Heather? Anything?
No, I'm good.
Good, Mary?
I'm good, thank you.
I have nothing. Nothing new.
Dave?
I'd like to suggest that even though we voted to continue processing with this ordinance, that we would meet with the chief, go over his concerns with Matt, Mayor, and myself, if we could, and see if we can address them. And not-
Which Matt?
I was just gonna say, I was
This
looking down, I
matter,
don't know who you
that
meant. Okay.
So that,
Anytime,
because
let me
I
know.
think the chief has had conversations with him about it already, so let's, and if we could schedule that as quickly as possible, so that, again, perhaps it could be added to the ordinance when it's introduced, or if any adjustments have to be made, it could be done shortly after.
Are we allowed to make that change after we
We
voted it
can't,
tonight?
we have to
We'd have
re-advertise
to
a significant change.
re-advertise.
Okay, so it could be done on the, if we approve the changes that are presented today in there, we then could open it up yet a second time, or a third time, and make any changes that would be necessary. Is that
Yeah, that's
a true
correct.
fact?
That's
Okay,
correct.
thank you.
Thanks, Dave. I don't have, I mean, the only thing I would say is, congratulations to the Delsey wrestling team.
Oh, yeah.
They finished in Group 3, first in the state. They just won the District 31 individual championships.
Seven going on to regions.
There's more than 7, I think 7 won.
7-1, yeah,
Yeah, so I think there's like 12 going on the region.
probably.
So they'll be wrestling again this week in Egg Harbor Township. So we'll keep an eye on that. But that's all I have. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
A second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks for coming out. Get them tacos, Jason.